Welcome to my channel. Have you ever felt like you're just stuck with English? Like no matter how many grammar rules you memorize or how many hours you spend studying, you still can't actually speak fluently? Trust me, I've been there too. I used to fail listening tests, and every time someone tried to talk to me in English, I would freeze. It was frustrating. But over time, everything changed. I went from struggling to understand even basic conversations to being able to speak English confidently and naturally. And no, I didn't move to an English-speaking country, and I didn't follow some kind of magical, secret method. What I did was actually very simple, and it worked. The best part? You can do the same. So just stick with me until the end of this video, and I'll break it all down for you, step by step. Chapter 1. The Turning Point. Realizing what doesn't work. So let me take you back to my school days. Picture this. I'm sitting in an English class, doing everything I was told to do. I was highlighting vocabulary in my textbook, memorizing grammar rules, writing out full lists of irregular verbs, and honestly, I was trying really hard. I passed all the written tests. I got decent grades. On paper, it looked like I was good at English. But here's the truth. I couldn't speak. Like, really speak. If someone asked me a simple question like, "What did you do today?" I would freeze. My brain would go completely blank. I couldn't understand movies without subtitles. I couldn't follow real conversations. And speaking? That felt like a complete nightmare. I remember one time we had a speaking activity in class, and I actually felt sick before it started. My heart was racing, my palms were sweaty, and all I could think was, please don't call on me. This is what I mean when I say I was doing everything right, but I wasn't getting anywhere. And maybe this sounds familiar to you. Maybe you're studying English. You've done the grammar books, the worksheets, the exercises. But when it comes to actually using the language, it just doesn't work. You know the rules, but when you hear real English, it feels like another planet. And honestly, I used to blame myself. I thought, maybe I'm just not good at languages. But later, I realized the problem wasn't me. It was the method. Because here's the thing. Traditional English classes are built for passing tests, not for real-life communication. You learn to memorize grammar formulas, but no one teaches you how to actually use them in a natural way. You study vocabulary lists, but no one helps you learn how native speakers really talk. The focus is on rules and perfection, not on fluency and connection. And that's where most learners get stuck. They're putting in the effort, but the method just doesn't match the goal. But then something happened that changed everything for me. I was in high school, and we had a guest speaker visit our class, a former student from our school who had just returned from university abroad. And I remember listening to him speak in English, fluently, confidently, naturally. And here's the part that shocked me. He didn't grow up in an English-speaking country. He didn't have any special background. He was just like me, same school, same city, same native language. And yet, he sounded like someone straight out of a Netflix show. And I thought to myself, how? How did he do that? That moment lit a fire in me. I realized that it was possible to become fluent, Even if you didn't live in the UK or the US, even if you weren't a language genius, but you had to do things differently. You couldn't just rely on classroom English. You had to create your own system, something that actually worked in the real world, something that was designed for speaking, for understanding, for living in English, not just studying it. That was my turning point. I stopped trying to be a perfect student, and I started focusing on becoming a confident speaker. I stopped chasing grammar rules and started chasing real conversations. And if you're feeling stuck right now, if you're doing everything right but still can't speak, I just want to tell you, you're not alone. You're not broken. You just need a new way to learn. And in the next chapters, I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like, step by step. Because once you understand what doesn't work, it's so much easier to find what does. Chapter 2. Immersion without moving abroad, living in English. When I realized that traditional studying wasn't helping me speak English, I knew I had to change something. But the problem was, I didn't live in an English-speaking country. I didn't have native speakers around me. I wasn't planning to study abroad. So I thought, what if I just pretend I live in an English-speaking world, like fake it until I make it? That one small idea changed everything. I started with the simplest thing, my phone. I switched the language from my native one to English. And yeah, at first, it was a little uncomfortable. I had to stop and think when I opened settings or typed a message, but over time, it became completely natural. Then I did the same with all my apps: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, my browser. Every time I opened something, I was seeing English. I wasn't even studying. I was just living with English. Next step, I changed what I watched. I stopped watching shows and videos in my native language and started watching English content only. But I didn't start with Shakespeare or some complicated drama series. I chose shows I was actually excited about. For me, that was Desperate Housewives, full of drama, fast dialogue, and real conversational English. It wasn't educational material, but I learned more from those episodes than I ever did from my school textbooks. And I didn't understand everything at first, but that was okay. I wasn't trying to understand every single word. I was just letting the language become part of my daily life. At the same time, I was listening to English podcasts while doing boring chores, like cooking, washing dishes, or cleaning my room. It made those everyday tasks more enjoyable, and slowly my ears got used to the rhythm and melody of English. I wasn't trying to translate in my head anymore. I was just absorbing it. And that's where something really important happened. Something I want you to remember. Input comes first. Think about babies. Before they say a single word, they listen to thousands of hours of speech. They don't study grammar. They don't sit down with a dictionary. They just listen, again and again, until one day they start to speak. That's exactly how it works for you, too. You don't need to force speaking from day one. It's totally fine if you just listen and read for a while. That's not wasted time. That's how fluency starts. And I didn't just stop with listening. I also started writing in English. Nothing fancy, just simple things. I would journal in English before bed. Some days it was just one paragraph like, Today I went to class, it was boring, but I'm happy I finished my homework. Other times I wrote about my feelings, my plans, or what I learned. This helped me connect emotionally with the language, which made it feel more personal. It wasn't just a school subject anymore. It was how I expressed myself. One of the weirdest but most effective things I did was write my grocery list in English. Seriously. Instead of writing milk, eggs, bread in my native language, I just started writing it in English. Then I started planning my week in English. Monday, yoga, study session, email my professor. All my reminders, to-do lists, even my passwords, all in English. It sounds silly, but it works. It trains your brain to think in the language, not just translate. Over time, English became my default mode. I started thinking in English, dreaming in English. And that's when I noticed a real shift. I wasn't just studying English anymore. I was living it. And that's something you can start doing today, wherever you are. You don't need a plane ticket. You don't need a native speaker next to you. You just need to create your own English world, one little habit at a time. Switch your phone. Watch your favorite shows in English. Write your to-do list in English. Pretend you're a native. And eventually, your brain will start to believe it. That's what happened to me. And if it worked for me, it can definitely work for you. In the next chapter, I'll show you what kind of content actually helps you learn faster, because not all input is created equal. Some shows and books help, and others just confuse you. So keep watching, because this next part is where the real transformation begins. Chapter 3. The Magic of Comprehensible Input. Okay, so let's talk about the one concept that completely changed the way I learned English. Something that honestly made me go, wait, why has no one told me this before? It's called comprehensible input, and it's the reason I finally started making progress after years of feeling stuck. Here's what it means. In order to improve your English, especially your understanding and vocabulary, you need to spend time with content that is just slightly above your current level. Not too easy, not too hard. Something where you understand about 90 to 95% of what's being said or written. That's the sweet spot. When I discovered this, everything started to make sense. Let me give you an example from my own journey. Back when I was in high school, I thought I was doing the right thing by watching movies in English. But honestly, I didn't understand anything. I'd sit there, subtitles on, my notebook ready, and after 5 minutes, I'd feel lost, overwhelmed, and frustrated. The language was too fast, the slang was unfamiliar, and I was constantly pausing to look up words. It felt like work, not fun. And the worst part? I wasn't learning much because I was too busy trying to survive the experience. Then I found something that changed the game for me: Desperate Housewives. It might sound funny, but this show was the perfect level for me at the time. The story was engaging, the language was modern and realistic, and I could follow the plot without understanding every single word. The parts I didn't understand, they didn't ruin the experience. They actually made me curious. And because I was enjoying it, I kept watching. Episode after episode, season after season. Without even realizing it, I was picking up real, natural English. Not the kind from grammar books, but the kind people actually speak. That's when I realized something super important. learning doesn't have to feel like studying. In fact, the best kind of learning happens when you're so into what you're watching or reading that you forget you're learning at all. The same thing happened with reading. I stopped trying to read classic literature or academic articles. Instead, I started reading young adult fiction, books written for teenagers. You might think that's too simple, but trust me, it's exactly what I needed. The language was casual and conversational. There was a lot of dialogue, which meant I was seeing how people actually talk. And the stories were interesting. One of the series I read was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. It was spooky, full of mystery, and had these strange vintage photographs that kept me turning the pages. And you know what? I was learning so much English, and it didn't feel like a chore. That's the power of comprehensible input. It keeps you coming back for more. It's not about forcing yourself to study. It's about getting addicted to content that also helps you grow. Now, let's talk about the 95% rule. This is your new filter. Anytime you're choosing something to watch or read, ask yourself, do I understand at least 90 to 95% of this? If yes, great. That's your level. If it's less than that, like 50% or even 70%, it's probably too hard right now. And that's okay. Put it on your future list and come back to it later. But don't waste your time trying to fight through material that just stresses you out. That doesn't build fluency, it builds frustration. And on the other hand, if something is too easy, like if you understand 100% of it without thinking, it might be good for relaxing, but it's not going to push your progress. What you want is that sweet spot, your current level plus one, just one step ahead of where you are now. So the big takeaway here is this. Choose content that you love, that you mostly understand, and that makes you want to keep going. Whether it's a drama series, a funny sitcom, a murder mystery podcast, or a fantasy book. If it's slightly challenging but still fun, you're in the right place. You're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to build momentum. You're building a habit. And when English becomes part of the content you naturally enjoy, your fluency starts to grow without even noticing it. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how to start producing English, even if you're still scared to speak. Because understanding is only half the journey. The other half is finding your voice, and I'll show you how to do that step by step. Chapter 4. Producing English. Speaking without fear. You don't need to be perfect to speak. You need to be brave. And I know that's way easier said than done. When I first started trying to speak English, I was terrified. Not because I didn't know English. I had been learning for years. I had the grammar. I had the vocabulary. But the moment I had to open my mouth, everything just disappeared. I felt embarrassed, insecure, like everyone was going to judge me for every tiny mistake. But here's what I learned. The fear doesn't go away before you start. It goes away because you start. Speaking isn't something you suddenly feel ready for. It's something you practice into. Like building a muscle, one tiny rep at a time. In the beginning, I didn't have speaking partners or native friends, so I started with the most low-pressure method ever, talking to myself. I know it sounds silly, but honestly, It helped so much. I would describe what I was doing while making breakfast. I would talk to myself in the mirror and pretend I was answering questions in an interview. Sometimes I would just speak my thoughts out loud like, "Okay, today I need to go to the store. Then I'm gonna watch that episode of that show. Oh, wait, how do I say receipt again?" Boom. I'd look it up. That's a learning moment, and it sticks more when you say it out loud. I also started journaling, but this time, not just writing about my day. I started talking to myself in writing, asking questions and answering them. Like, what's one thing that made you happy today? Or, what's something you're worried about? This helped me express ideas, feelings, and opinions, things that textbooks don't teach you how to do. Then I slowly moved to interacting with other people online. I would leave comments under YouTube videos, post in English language forums, reply to Reddit threads. These were baby steps, but each one helped me get more comfortable with producing English. And since it was all in writing, I had time to think, edit, and learn from my mistakes. Eventually, I found a few language exchange apps, and I started sending short voice messages. That part was scary, not gonna lie. I would record a 10-second message and re-record it like 5 times before sending it. But every time I sent one, I got more confident. And hearing someone reply to me in English and actually understand what I said, that was one of the best feelings ever. Here's the truth. Every fluent speaker you've ever heard was once a beginner who made a lot of mistakes. The only difference between you and them is that they didn't stop. They didn't wait until they were perfect. They started when they were messy. And every time they spoke, they got a little bit better. So if you're waiting for the moment you feel ready, stop waiting. The best time to start is now. And no, you don't need to go out and give a TED Talk. You just need to start small. Talk to yourself. Write out your thoughts. Join an English-speaking Discord server. Find a language exchange buddy. Or just open the voice recorder on your phone and practice speaking about your day. Let me tell you about my first real conversation in English, the one where I felt like, okay, I can actually do this. I was in college, and I met a girl from Canada at a language event. We started chatting, and at first, I was nervous. My voice was shaky. I was translating in my head, and I probably made a dozen grammar mistakes in the first 2 minutes. But she smiled. She kept the conversation going. She understood me, and I understood her. We talked for 20 minutes. I walked away feeling like I had just climbed a mountain. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. That was the moment I knew I could speak English. And you will have that moment too. It might be in a conversation with a stranger, a language partner, or even in a video comment where someone replies, "Hey, your English is really good." But it will happen. And it'll be because you stopped chasing perfection and started using your voice. So go practice. Make mistakes. Talk to yourself. Send that voice message. Because fluency doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. And in just a second, I'll wrap things up with a few final thoughts and tell you how you can keep learning with me. So now you've seen the full journey, from struggling student to confident fluent speaker. And the best part? You don't need to move abroad or spend thousands of dollars. Just build a system that works for you. If this video helped you, Please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's also learning English. And let me know in the comments, which part of this system will you try first? Let's help each other grow. See you in the next one.